So in this lecture, we're still going to be recording the sound of your keyboard, but this time we're going to look at using a dedicated audio interface. Now, so far I've shown you step by step how to use a simple audio cable and how to record using the internal sound card of either your PC or your iPad or your Mac, and it sounded okay. But as I said earlier, although it is the cheapest way to record your keyboard, it is not the best way. You will achieve much better quality and functionality with an audio interface. Well, what is an audio interface? Well, it's basically an external sound card, and it usually has specialist inputs for mics, line input, guitar and keyboard. It's a dedicated way of getting sound into and out of your computer. It works like the internal sound card of your computer, but it's much higher quality. And what you do is you connect it to your computer externally via either USB or Thunderbolt or Firewire. And then there are many interfaces you can buy now that connect directly to iPad, or you may be able to connect a USB interface to your iPad if it's compatible. So you just have to check the spec of that. So if we have a look at my setup with an audio interface, I take the audio output of my keyboard and feed it into the back of my audio interface, which I then connect to my PC with a USB lead like this. And in fact, the recording I'm making right now is made with this exact interface that you can see here, and I'm recording through a mic into it. And so this is just a close-up look of my interface, because this is a very typical example of what you might find, and I'll just go through some of the basic features of it. So I've got on the front panel, I've got two microphone inputs which have got preamps where I can turn the volume of the microphone up and get it just to the right level for recording. I've got two ways of listening to what I'm doing. I've got a headphone socket on the front, and on the back I've got two outputs which can go to powered speakers. And you can see I've got two separate volume controls, one for the headphones, one for the speakers. So on the rear I have got two line inputs, and this is the most important thing if you want to record the sound of your keyboard, that you've got line inputs available. And you can see that on the front panel I can switch. I can only record two things at once, so I can either record two mics or one mic and one guitar, or I can head over to the back and record through these two inputs here. I've got a phantom power switch, which I'll mention again in a bit, and I've got two ways of connecting it. You can see that I can connect a standard USB lead and connect it directly to my PC or my Mac. And I've also got on this interface a tablet output. So I have got a dedicated lead which will connect this interface directly up to my iPad. But audio interfaces come in all sorts of shapes and sizes. Here's something that's a lot simpler that you could consider if the only thing you want to do is record the sound of your keyboard. This is a line link from Oasis, and it simply consists of two 1/4 inch jacks which could go straight into the 1/4 inch jack outputs of the back of a keyboard. And it has a USB on the other end. So it's a USB audio cable, and it works just like an interface. It doesn't have any output, but it's very similar. This is an interface that's been made specifically for your iPhone or iPad, and it's a fantastic little bit of kit, the Irig Pro. You can actually put a line input into this. You can put a microphone into it, and it's even got a way of getting MIDI signals into it. This kind of interface would be very useful if you just wanted to record on your iPad. So what you'll find when you start to look for an audio interface is that you're not going to be short of choice. There are hundreds to choose from, and it's a case of deciding which is the best one for you. I think the first thing is, what do you want to connect it to? Do you want to just use it on your iPad? Or do you want to be able to move it from your iPad to your Mac or your PC? You can buy an interface that will cover all three platforms, or you can buy one that will work much better on one platform. So think about that first, and then think about how you're going to connect it. You'll see that some interfaces are Thunderbolt interfaces, which are very high quality and very good, but no good if you haven't got a Thunderbolt port. Some interfaces come with a Lightning or a 30-pin connector ready for iPad, which might be perfect for you. Most, though, are USB interfaces, and you'll find that USB is pretty standard. It's what I'm using, and very straightforward to use. And you can get, for many devices, a connector to use it on an iPad, but just check the spec that you can. They won't all work. Here are what I think are the key essentials of my interface that I think you should look for when you're choosing one. And the first thing, if you want to record the sound of your keyboard, is to have a good quality line input where you can use a high quality audio cable and get a good signal into your computer. Now, if you ever think you're going to want to record a microphone, for example, if you're going to want to put vocal lines on or record an acoustic guitar or something like that, then get an interface that's got a good quality mic preamp and the ability to connect a microphone with an XLR lead. So you can see I've got two microphone inputs here. These little knobs here turn up the volume of the preamp on the mic so I can get it to just the right signal for my computer. If you ever think you might want to use a condenser microphone, then you need to choose an interface that provides phantom power. So I'm using a condenser microphone right now and it needs phantom power to work. If you're only going to use a dynamic mic, then this does not matter. And if you're not thinking of a microphone at all, then you don't even have to worry about this. But it is worth future-proofing and thinking, if I ever going to want to use a studio condenser microphone in my setup, buy an interface now that's got phantom power. Now, the other thing is I think the ability to be able to direct monitor is essential if you're going to try and build tracks up. So what happens is when I press this button, I can hear in my headphones exactly what I am recording as I play it. It hasn't gone through all the processing of my computer, so there is no delay. And most interfaces do allow you to direct monitor. That line link that I showed you earlier would not, because it doesn't have any output. But on the other hand, it is a very cheap and effective way of recording your keyboard on your computer. So you have to balance these things out. Quite a lot of people ask, is MIDI essential? Because you can buy a lot of audio interfaces that also have MIDI on them, but obviously they're a bit more expensive. Now, if your digital piano or keyboard has got a USB connection already so that you can already use it as a MIDI controller, then you do not need MIDI on your interface as well. You can run the two side by side. And if you've already got a separate MIDI interface, then you don't need to buy MIDI. But if you're just starting out now purchasing equipment, you've got a keyboard or piano like mine that doesn't have any USB, and you want to do MIDI recording as well, which obviously we're going to cover next in this course, then look for one that's got MIDI in and out as well, and it'll save you having to buy any extra equipment. You'll just need MIDI cables. I always say go for quality rather than quantity, the best quality you can afford rather than the most number of inputs. At the end of the day, if you're just working on your own, you can only record one thing at a time. So actually buying something with multiple inputs, unless you absolutely need them, is just a waste of money. I strongly advise you to buy a well-known brand with good manufacturer support. And this is the quality versus quantity again. It is far better to buy a smaller interface from a good quality brand than to buy a multiple interface from a brand you've never heard of, because you'll find that all the good brands have got great manufacturer support portals and they'll help you out with troubleshooting. They'll often have a phone line you can ring up, so worth spending the money on a brand. Because once you've kind of narrowed it down a bit, compare the technical specs, look at the different recording resolutions, sampling rate, whether you can record directly via digital, the quality of the preamps, whether it has balanced outputs, if you've got very pro quality speakers that you want to connect balanced outputs to. At the end of the day, it is going to come down to how much money you've got. And just to repeat, go for quality inputs and outputs rather than a big number of them. So what I'm going to show you now is how I connect my digital piano via my interface to my PC, and then I'll show you on the MacBook, and then I'll show you on the iPad. Now, it doesn't matter what interface you've got. Once you've installed it correctly, made sure the drivers are in, just when you open the box, follow the instructions for getting it set up. You'll be able to follow what I'm doing step by step. The principle will be exactly the same. So it doesn't matter you don't have exactly the same interface as me. And then here's another question I get asked a lot. What happens to my existing sound card? Do I have to remove it or deinstall it? How does it work? Years ago, it was very, very difficult to get two sound cards working together. And so it was almost essential to deinstall one before you installed another. Otherwise, you'd just get terrible conflicts. Now it is perfectly okay to use your audio interface alongside any existing sound card you've got. So you can keep the sound card that's in your computer already, put an audio interface alongside it, it'll be fine. It'll be just like having a choice of two printers in a word processor program. It's as simple as that. And you'll be able to choose whether you use your internal sound card or the interface. They'll work happily alongside each other. If you've got a separate MIDI interface, that will work alongside as well. So just follow me, and I'm going to show you now how to record with your interface step by step.